Thank you for tuning back into Full Spectrum Survival. As always, we appreciate your views and your comments. Today, I wanted to go over the OODA loop. OODA is an acronym that stands for Observation, Orientation, Decision, and Action. And we don't see it discussed a lot in different people's preparedness plans as it relates to the course of action that they would take if they were ever in a hostile or threatened by an adversary. The OODA loop, the first O in OODA loop is observation. And that would be the thought process that your mind would experience when you realize that there was an attack of some sort. The second one would be observation, which would be the method of attack and where the direction was that attack was coming from. The third would be the decision, which would be your appropriate threat response to that attack. And then the fourth would be action. Now, as a defender in any of those situations, whether you're in your car or your primary residence, your retreat, your response as the defender is going to always leave you at a grave disadvantage because the attacker will vary the pacing, the timing, and the method of attack to keep you, the defender, behind the power curve. And what we suggest is that you go back to all the plans that you've either thought about in the scenario or you've written out as your defense plan course of action and consider the OODA loop. The only means to get in front of the power curve is to realize that that attacker or that adversary will have the same mental process that you have behind the power curve as he is trying to inflict some type of violence on you. And in order to get ahead of the power curve, your course of action is going to have to be using those tools and exploiting them to your advantage. And I can give you an instance of an OODA loop that gets run on people every day, and that's when you walk into a car lot. And that's a nonviolent experience, thank God. But when you walk onto a car lot, you have a salesman that greets you. He's asking, what brings you in today? He's asking, have you seen our specials on TV? And by asking you those questions, he is constantly making you, the buyer, respond and react to him. And in doing so, he takes control of the conversation and ultimately leads you where he wants you to go. That's not always a good feeling, depending on the quality of the individual you're working with and your buying experience, but it's a great way to realize an everyday OODA loop that gets run that you should be aware of and think of all of the areas necessary to turn that around, whether you're in a situation that's uncomfortable in something as simple as buying something, or whether you're actually in a situation where there's violence that could be perpetrated against you. And the decision part of the OODA loop, the D, is very, very important because the threat level and the appropriate response are something that, from a legal standpoint, you have to take into consideration. So if you map that out again, I'll go over it. It is observation, orientation, decision, and action. Please take this back to your preparations, review them, think about all the different scenarios that you could use that concept and exploit it to your advantage. Thank you for viewing in today. Please visit us again.